fine. It's just
Like on this world, like the nation would grow over time just from
a little
acquiring
bit
more and more
bigger.
slaves.
Fine.
So the nation, that seemed like a big way of conversion.
Right.
You know, they would come in,
Yes,
but they
my
wouldn't
God.
necessarily go out.
Yeah. We're holding by the Mishnah.
what's the assist?
In Paidanes, we're up to Mem Hey Yamad Aleph, right?
Oh, man, hey.
Yeah. Yamad Aleph. Okay. So let's go like this. In Paidanes Shvuyin, Mishnah on 45. In Paidanes Shvuyin, Yesal Kadei Demem Pnei Tikkun Olam. You can't redeem captives more. You can't ransom them more than their value. Pnei Tikkun Olam. Simple shot. Because if you do, they'll do it again. Right? It becomes a business. Now the Maram Mirottenberg was taken captive. Remember, he was the teacher of the Rosh.
There.
He wanted, yeah, he refused to be redeemed, to be ransomed.
Because he was higher than the market price.
Yeah, they were asking a large price. No, the Jewish people are not allowed to redeem because the Gentiles will do it again.
Oh,
If they threatened to kill him.
So let's see. We'll see in the Gemara. In Mavrichan Asashvim B'Pnei Tikkunom, you also can't assist in captives running away, also because that could create a problem. We'll see what the problem is. Two possibilities. Shimon ben Gamliel B'Pnei Tikkunom Asashvim. Shimon ben Gamliel says it's because of the other captives that are there that when these captives run away, then they start to mistreat the ones that are still there. Okay, Iboilu, the Gemara has a question. I'm Pnei Tikkun Olam. When you said that it's because of the fixing of the world, Tikkun Olam, it's for the betterment of the world. What did you mean by that? You can't pay a higher ransom price. Were you talking about that it was going to be an oppression on the congregation? Now, is it because it's going to be too high of a price and the community can't afford it? Or is it because you don't want them to do it again? Now, what would the difference be? The difference would be is if it's not a community issue, if it's one individual decides he's going to pay. Okay, so it says like this. Tashima, come and listen. The Levi by Darga. Okay, I'm not familiar with him, but Parki Lebrati, the place Alfie didn't reserve. He redeemed his daughter for 13,000 golden coins, and obviously, that was more than the value of the slave or whatever the selling price was. And what we're saying now is that it must have been. Why was he allowed to do that? Because he was an individual wealthy person that could do this without it affecting the community. So the issue is that we didn't want it to affect the community. The issue, it was not because they may come and do it again.
Usually it's like 15 or 30. It's only like 15 or 30. There's other ones.
Oh, that was if someone was killed, a slave. Okay. Amar Abaya says, how can you bring a proof from this fellow? How do you know what he did? The sages agreed to it. Maybe the sages did not agree to it. You bring a proof that has nothing to do with that you don't want them to go and take captives again. How do you know that has anything to do with this? Maybe the sages refused to let him to ransom his daughter, and he did it anyway. Okay. You don't assist people running away from captivity because of the betterment of the world. And Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says it's because of the betterment of the captives themselves. What's the difference between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and Tanakama? Let's say there was only one captive. If there's only one captive, then you're not worried about the other captives there. There was no one else.
Do they use this Gemara when it comes to fleeing terrorists or whatever in Israel? Like free, like I don't know, 100 these Palestinians or whatever for one person. It's like
It came to mind when I was reading this with the protests about Russian Jewry, where they had these like major protests and like, all these things, demonstrations. The Rebbe was concerned that it's not how the Russians work, and they'll mistreat the people there much worse when there's anyway. Bansei.
He was not in favor of the demonstration.
It worked against them.
Right.
Bansei the Rav Nachman, the daughters of Rav Nachman, Bachshan K'tei Rabbi Adayu, they would, I don't know what Bachshan means. It sounds like they would hold pots, would stir boiling pots with their hands. Okay, they would stir the pots with their hands. Well, sounds like either they're doing magic or something. Kashli Rav Elish understood that they were great tzaddikim, tzidkaniyos, and they didn't get affected by the fire. Like you find other great tzaddikim that were thrown into the furnace and it didn't get burnt, and Reb Zera went into the oven and it didn't get burnt. A whole bunch of people. Who was it? Marzutra. Who was it that jumped into the oven because he didn't want to embarrass the person that he gave tzedakah to? His wife stood on his feet. Marzutra. Anyway, look at what they're doing. These are the daughters of Rav Nachman, and they're stirring the pot. Rav Elish has a question. 1 out of 1,000 I found that they're tzaddikim. But I never found a woman that's a tzaddikis. But what's going on? Look, they must be tzidkaniyos. Garmalu Milsa, something occurred, Bishtaben, and they were taken captive. Bishtabayi Nami Badayawen, the Rabbi Lish was also taken captive. One day he's sitting next to this fellow, and this fellow is not Jewish, I think. Is that what it says? Due to an evil eye?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that in the Rashi. Yeah, 1 second. I didn't notice that in the Rashi. Is that what it says in the? No, I see it in the English, but is that what it says by you that it was due to an evil eye that they were taken captive?
Yeah.
I know they all have you're reading from the Quran, but I don't have it in this.
He made it up.
He's allowed to. It's what is it called? License, poetic license and author's license, translator's license. Well, someone must say it. He doesn't get it from nowhere. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't have that.
you don't
I
have that
see
either.
it.
I don't have that in my. I don't have it in Rashi or maybe I missed it. Okay, whatever the case is, they're taking cap. He's also taking cap. He's sitting next to this fellow that knows the language of the birds. He can hear. Listens to the birds. He knows what they're saying. Also, so the raven comes, starts to call. Amalei, my karma, tells to his to this guy that's sitting next to him. He says, "What's he saying?" Amalei, Elish barach, Elish barach, Elish, run away, Elish, run away. Amar urva shikru. The ravens are liars. You can't rely on a raven. But then a dove comes and calls out, Amalei, my kamra, what's the dove saying? Amalei, Elish barach, Elish barach. It's saying, Elish, run away, Elish, run away. Amar knesset shel kiyayna mitilia. The Jewish people are compared to a mitilia is mashal. It's compared to the dove. Obviously, you're going to have a miracle. Let me go see. Maybe once I'm running away, I'll take the daughters of Rav Nachman. But let me see if they're actually trustworthy, if they're being good girls. Well, Adrino, if they're being good girls, I'll return them as well. The Islu, women, anything that they have, Sadran lahadadi the base akise. They'll talk in the bathroom,
It says
there's a schmoozing. There's a schmoozing room in front of the bathroom, and they schmooze over there. It's usually a couch. What do they call it? The powder room. Shaminu, the Kamran, Adei Guvrin, Benadoi Guvrin. He hears that they're saying, these fellows over here, these captives, they're our husbands, and in Nardoi, we have other husbands. Let's tell our captives they should take us further away from here so that our husbands don't hear and come and redeem us. Apparently, they would like to these living with these captives. Well, come, he gets up, Arak. He's not saving them. He runs away. Asa Iyuva Gavra, he comes together with this fellow. The fellow that knew the language of birds. To him, a miracle happened enough of Mavra. He made it over the bridge. He's safe. Gavra, that fellow, Ashkachu Vakatlu, they killed him. They killed that fellow. Kihadran,
Birdman?
Birdman, yeah. Kihadran, when he came back,
Alcatraz. By San Francisco.
yeah. No, the Rav Elish does not know what the birds say. This other guy knows what the language of the birds. Okay. Kihadran Vasan, when he returned, Amar Havu Kabachshan Kidra Bikshafim. When these daughters of Rav Nachman returned, then he said that they were mixed stirring the pot. It must have been magic. Well, they weren't really black magic. It wasn't really because they were tzidkanias. Yeah.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, I don't know what the lesson is. Okay,
Don't stir the pot.
don't stir the pot. Ain Leichen.
Maybe that's where it comes from.
With the Birdman, who was the savior of the whole story, he got killed.
Yeah. Now, he may have ran away because he was listening to the raven. Rav Elish ran away because he was listening to the dove. I don't know. I saw someone, the Ben Yada was talking about this story like that. Okay. You're not allowed to purchase Sifrei Torah, Tefillin, and mezuzahs from a non-Jew more than their price. And sometimes these guys show up, want to buy tefillin. You're not allowed to overpay for them. Because of the betterment of the world, you don't want them to turn this into a business. Remember the story with the guy that says, "Where's the one for the left hand?"
Is this talking about like a merchant or a sofa?
No, there's a non-Jew shows up in the show and says, "I have tefillin for sale. Anyone want to buy it?" And you know, obviously, that he stole them. So, only Rav Budia or Rav Ashi. I'm not familiar with Rav Budia. He says to Rav Ashi, "Yes, sir, you're not allowed to buy them more than their price. But for the actual price, you are allowed to buy the shema. Obviously, you're allowed to use the Sefer Torah that you find in the hands of a guy. It's going to be kosher." Gemara says, "How do you know?" Rav Ashi probably saying, "How do you know that it means that you can read from it in shul? Dilma lignes. Maybe it means that you have to bury it. Doesn't mean that you're allowed to read from it." Okay, very interesting. Amar Rav Nachman says, "Nachdinan, we've established that Sefer Torah shekosvu min, if a heretic wrote a Sefer Torah, yisarif, that's supposed to be burnt. Kosvu oived kechavim, min is probably the early Christians. An oived kechavim is a regular idolater. For him, what does it say there? Heretic. They have the same word. They have a min. Kosvu goy. The non-Jew wrote it. We have akum in our Gemara. They have the unedited version. Then if a non-Jew wrote it, then Yuganis, and it's supposed to be put into Shemus. There's a doubt. Was it written properly or not? We'll see soon. Nimtza biadmin. If you don't, it's not that he wrote it. You just find it in his hands. Then Yuganis. If he wrote it, then it's supposed to be burnt. The heretic wrote it. But if you just find him that he has one, then you put it in Shemus. Nimtzi biadev comes find by a non-Jew. Some say that you have to put it in Shemus. Shemus means you have to bury it, right? And
the Torah, I don't know what exactly qualifies a kosher Torah. I think Ishmael for sure.
Right.
Okay, so there's no Mishnah.
For a non-Jew, right? So we'll see in a second. Amila Karma, and some say that you can actually read
Why
from it.
can't you, why doesn't anybody say you check it out? You have a software check it out.
Not about if it was written kosher. Question is if it was written for Avodah Zarah or if it was written for the sake of Hashem. It was written properly.
It wasn't one of the things that he might have found.
Oh, so when it says if he wrote it, then you don't read from it. But if he found it, then there's one opinion that says you can read from it. Rashi says it's a sveka. Maybe he got it from a Jew. And even if he wrote it, maybe this time he made a mistake. Usually he wouldn't write things. He usually writes things only for idolatry. Maybe he made a mistake. He wrote it for Hashem. Svek. Yeah, anyway, the commentators have a big discussion about if that's really considered a svek. So, a Sefer Torah shekosvav kechavim. If a non-Jew wrote a Sefer Torah, Tani Chada Yisaref. One brisa says you have to burn it. Tani Yidach Yiganis. Another brisa says you bury it. Tani Yidach Kerimbay. Other brisa says that you can read from it. This is when you have three opinions about one thing, right? Yeah. The Gemara says like kasha. It's not a question. Hadatani Yisaref. The opinion that says that you burn it. That's the opinion of Rabbi Lazar. Is it Rabbi Lazar or Rabbi Eliezer? You have Eliezer? Okay. The Amar that he says, that obviously a regular thought of a non-Jew is obviously for idolatry. But the Tanya Ganis, what about the one that says, yes, idolatry, of course, you can't have benefit if you have to burn it. One that says that you bury it. Haitanu the Tani Rav Amnuna Braid the Ravam Pashruna. This was the opinion that was taught by Rav Amnuna Braid the Ravam Pashruna that Sefer Torah Tefillin and Mezuzah Shekasvan Min Maser Ovid Kechavim the Eved Veisha V'Katan L'Kuti V'Yisrael Mumar Paislan Psulim. He equates the invalidity of the Sefer Torah that's written by the non-Jew together with a woman and a child and a kuti and Yisrael Mumma. It's all just not kosher. It's not kosher means that you're going to bury it.
Depends on that David Kochabim was really a Christian back in those times, but it was all like edited out
Right.
everywhere. I was just like,
Right. Right. I was saying that the Min was the early Christian, but and the David Kochabim was just a regular non-Jew. No. Yeah, exactly. Shenemar, but the reason over here is a little different. It says Shenemar ukshartem uchsavtem. You have to write. You have to tie the tefillin, and you have to write the mezuzahs. Kol sheyeshnem b'kshira yeshnem b'ksiva. Anyone that has to tie tefillin also is allowed to write it. Kol sheyeshnem b'kshira yeshnem b'ksiva. Anyone that doesn't tie it, with, for example, a Jew, a woman, or a child, or a kuti, or a non-Jew, so they also can't write it. Okay, so they can't write it, so it's possible not because of the lishma part, it's just because it's not one of the halachas that they're involved in. But the Tanya Kairim in the brisa that says that you read from it, Hi Tanya the Tanya, it's the brisa that says Leichen Svarim and Avikam Kalmakim, you're always allowed to buy Sifrei Torah from a non-Jew, as long as it's written properly. That's an opinion that holds that. So when we had a threefold contradiction, how do we answer it? We say that it's three different opinions. Well, we have a story of a non-Jew that was in Seidan that he would write these Sifrei Torah. Reb Shimon Gamliel said that you can buy from him. Reb Shimon Gamliel holds that you have to work the leather for the sake of the Sefer Torah, but you don't have to write it for its sake, because we're saying that a guy is writing the Sefer Torah and it's still acceptable. The Tanya, we have a brisa that says like this. We're about to prove that Shimon Gamliel says it needs to be tanned. The leather needs to be processed. The parchment needs to be processed. Lishma, tipan zav, if it's covered in gold. I should tell Aliyam Arbehem Atmeya, talking about filling. Or it was put over it like a patch from a non-kosher animal, pig skin filling. Psulis, that's puzzle. Arbehem Atayra, but if it's the skin of a kosher animal, ksheris, lishma, even though it wasn't tanned, it wasn't processed, lishma. Shimon Gamliel says even if it's kosher animals, it still has to be lishma. See, he holds that it needs to be tan lishma, Why is he being so lenient about the writing of it, Lishma? Amar Rabba Bar Shmuel. Rabba Bar Shmuel says, I'm not talking about a non-Jew, I'm talking about an actual Jew. He was a convert, but he went back to his old religion. Sar Surai, the commentaries say, means he went back to his Sar, to his angel.
Corrupt ways.
I don't get this right here with the Gentile Sargon would write Torah scrolls. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said it was mutar.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we're asking. How could it be acceptable? Yeah, one second. Lasurai, what do you mean he went back? Koskin Davalimin, then he's a heretic. What are you talking about? How could you say that that's acceptable? Ravashi says, he didn't return because he decided to return back. He returned because he was going to get into trouble. He was afraid of being punished for converting.
Inquisition.
Like what's it called? Like
Inquisition.
the Inquisition, where Jewish people that converted to Christianity that had to fake it afterwards because they no. This is like Avram ben Avram, Count Patatsky. He converted to Judaism, but they killed him because how could he do that? So now we're talking about someone that instead of giving up his life, decides to go back to being a Christian, or whatever they call the Russian, they call them Christians, no, Russian Catholics or something. Yeah, Russian Orthodox. Is that Greek Orthodox?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They have all these.
Something
I
like
have a
that.
question. With the non-Jew that wrote the Sefer Torah, and they mention the term Lishma, they're only discussing the leather part.
Well, the Ibud was Lishma. What about the writing?
Yeah.
So we're saying now that the writing was also done Lishma. How was it done Lishma? Because we're talking about a guy, a ger, that we're calling him a Akum because he's behaving like a non-Jew. But that's only because he's being forced to behave like that. It's not because he really wants to. So he's writing it Lishma.
I have
That's
a
what we're saying.
question. Take the Baptists or the people who study the Old Testament. They believe in the Old Testament, which is a Sefer Torah. Lishma, technically they have no New Testament. Technically, they could write a Old Testament, a Sefer Torah, Lishma, for the Old Testament's sake, and it shouldn't be a Shiloh.
Could be. I don't know enough about
the Bible.
About the other religions. I wouldn't know.
I believe it.
The Puritans spoke Hebrew.
They wrote it in Hebrew or they wrote it in English?
What?
They wrote it in Old English.
The ones who didn't know Hebrew, but go back to the Puritans.
But they don't believe in the oral law.
Well,
Right, but when you write the Torah, you're writing the written law. That's my
But you have to
question.
believe. You have to be Jewish. You have to believe in the oral law.
They may be considered a
To
min.
follow it.
Maybe considered
Well,
a
that was
min.
my question.
Maybe considered a min, which would be a big problem. Min, we said, was if they wrote it, it's burnt. Okay, yes, for some reason it gets stricter by a min. Anyway, Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, okay, Tanar Rabbanan. It was taught in the Brisa, Malam Medabei Kadei Tarpik. You are allowed to increase the price up until a tarpik. Tarpik is a very small coin. My tarpik, Amar Rav Sheshes, is stira. Stira is a type of coin. How much is it? It's a half a dinar. A dinar is it's like 50 cents.
How many coin collectors have look at these coins?
There is a fellow that sells a set of coins. In
I have that
Deitch.
set. I have that set.
Yeah.
And it's Chazani, yes, I could bring it in.
Yeah, bring it in so we could.
Yeah.
Anyway, a Hitayasa, there was a merchant, an Arab merchant. The Isi Chaisa, the Tfili Lakamida Abaya. He brought a little bag of tefillin in front of Abaya. Amarla, Tayasa. It's not a Taya. Tayasa, it's a Arab woman merchant. Taya is the Arab merchant. Tayasa would be the woman merchant. Amarla says to her, Yavasli Reish Bitamri. Each one of them, I'll give you one date. I'll give you a date for the head. I'll give you a date, a date.
A date to eat.
A date to eat.
Okay.
Date to eat. A date from the tree. So Imali Zira, she got filled with poison. I mean, she got very angry. Shakla, she took it. Shadsinnabanar, she threw them into the river. Amar, Abai says, I shouldn't have degraded it so much in their eyes. He wanted to make it cheap. She shouldn't think it's a good business, but she ended up throwing it out. You have to have the balance there. You shouldn't throw it out. Okay. Hamaitzi es ishtay mishum shemra layachse. Someone divorces his wife. It's a new Mishnah. Someone divorces his wife because there's a bad name about her, so that she's being promiscuous behavior. So he's not allowed to then say that, oh, I looked into the matter and I found that she's really behaving well, and I'm going to marry her back.
What if the story was just false?
That he's not allowed to marry her back. He's not allowed to marry her back. We'll see why. Yishum Neder, if he divorces her because she took vows, he's not allowed to marry her back. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol Neder She'ad Barabim. If the public knows about it, then Layachsi is not allowed to marry her back. But if the public doesn't know about it, then Yachsi is allowed to marry her back. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. See in the Gemara all the details. Rabbi Meir says any neder that the Chacham needs to look into it to be matir it, you can't marry her back. If it doesn't require the Chacham to look into it, then Yachser is allowed to marry her back. We'll see also in the Gemara what's going on over there if a person wants his wife to end up standing in front of the Chacham, getting embarrassed like that. Amar Rabbi Elazar says that this was only Yasser because of this. We're going to see in the Gemara how that works. Well, Amar Rabbi Yaisi, Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Yaisi, Rabbi Yehuda says, the Gemara is going to have to explain this Mishnah, how this story comes in. Maisa b'Tzeidan. There's a story in Tzeidan. Someone tells his wife, I'm taking a vow if I don't divorce you. That means that if I don't divorce you, I'm going to prohibit on myself any fruits. So he divorced her. And then sages allowed him to remarry her. They took an island because of the betterment of the world. Let's just take a look at the first piece of here. Rabbi Yisrael says the name of Rabbi Nachman. When do we say he's not allowed to marry her back? That's if he tells her. The reason why I'm divorcing her is because of your bad name that you've created. I'm divorcing you because of all the vows that you keep taking. I can't take this anymore. That's it. So according to this is Rabbi Yossi bar Menumi and name Rachman. He must hold. What's the reason why he's not allowed to marry back? Because he's going to create a problem. If he would say this, there must be and later on, he's going to be able to create this problem. And if not, he won't be able to create the problem. The problem that he's going to create is that he's going to tell her, oh, I didn't realize that everything was good. If I would have realized everything was good, then I never would have divorced you. And then, which basically means to say that the whole divorce was based on a false premise. Means she's not really divorced. Turned out she had already remarried someone else and had children. Meanwhile, he pulls the whole divorce out from under her, and she was really still considered married. So we have to tell him originally that when he says, I'm divorcing you because of this and that, we say, well, you know that you're never going to be able to marry her again, so you'll never be able to invalidate that divorce.
What if she didn't remarry?
Doesn't matter. Even if she doesn't remarry. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it appears. Well, Ikadami, there's one other version to the story, and it's Amar Rav Yossi bar Menumi, Amar Rav Nachman. He has to tell her, not that if he told her, but he actually has to tell her. You should know. I'm divorcing you because of your bad name. I'm divorcing because of all the vows that you keep taking. This opinion holds that what's the reason that he's not allowed to remarry her? You have to set a standard over here. You have to say that if this is the reason why you're being divorced, then you're never going to be allowed to get remarried to this person. Hilkach tzarach l'meimar, that's why he has to tell her, Hachi. Tani klishna kamatani lishn brasa. We have a brisa that supports the first version. First version of this story was that we're afraid that he may mess up the get, which would create problems for the family. Second version is we want to set a standard for women that she should not be taking vows. Tani klishna kam, we have a brisa that supports the first version. Amra Meir said name. Amra Mishum. What's the reason why we said that if someone divorces his wife because of a bad name, he's not allowed to marry her back? Mishum Nedli Yachzer. Not let her marry her back if she's because she took vows. This Bryce elaborates. Maybe she's going to go and get married. It's going to turn out that the rumor was all a lie. The Yaimer, he's going to say, if I would have known that the whole rumor was a lie, I feel nicely, even if it would pay me 100,000, whatever, I would never have hundreds, 10,000. I never would have divorced him. Nim to get bottle. It's going to turn out that the get's bottle, but mamzerim and their children that she had with her second husband are really mamzerim. Because if we tell him have a yedea, we tell him at the time when he does the first get, you should know have a yedea. You're not allowed to going to marry her back, and therefore also because of value you can't marry her back, and therefore he'll never be able to bring this up. That had I had known, I would have. Tani Klishna Basra, we also have a brisa that supports the Lishna Basra. Amar Abelazar Rabbi Yisrael, Abelazar Rabbi Yisrael, Neymar Mitzvah Sishlim Shem Shem Rali Yachzer Yachzer. Abelazar Rabbi Yisrael says, why did we say that if someone divorces his wife because of a bad name, he's not allowed to remarry her? Shem Nedli Yachzer, and because of vows, he's not allowed to remarry. Shlei Ben Yisrael Prutzes Paradise Minadarm. We don't want Jewish girls to be promiscuous and also to take vows. Lefikach, therefore, we say to him, Amar La, you have to tell her. Yedas, you should know, I'm divorcing you because of this and that. I'm divorcing because of this. We have to set the standard that she shouldn't be doing that. So let's leave it over here. Is that okay? We're up to Rabbi Yudaimer.
Today was
Tomorrow,
supposed to be
we have tomorrow
47, so we're not that, we're a page
Today was
and a half.
supposed to be a
A
page and a half
page and a
behind.
quarter behind. Yeah, but Rabbi catch up.
Okay.
We're gonna do this every night.
No,
No.
this is it. Now we have to catch up in the morning. Okay.